need to do my video. It's no barks, okay? Yeah, I know. Barky, okay? Okay. Hi everybody. Welcome back to Novel Idea. My name is Dia, and today is a week in review, and I will let you know what's up next. Probably do a little bit of a February pile of possibilities because we're at the end of January, so it's time. All right, so I'm just gonna jump in because I've got quite a few that I finished because a few of them were not very long books. So the first one that I finished is Strong as Stone. This is by, is it Chris Browne? Something Browne. I'm gonna put a picture up on the screen. I saw this book on Murphy Napier's channel. I will link that video down below. I emailed the author to ask if it was okay if she read it on her channel. So that's how I found out about it. And I read it with my granddaughter while she was here. And I think I showed you some pictures of that, but I forgot to mention it. And so that one and Dragons Love Tacos. This was also read while the grandkids were here because I got Strong as Stone for my granddaughter for Christmas, and I got Dragons Love Tacos for my middle grandson for Christmas. Kelly Reads a Lot actually introduced me to Dragons Love Tacos, and we love the book. My oldest daughter is a nanny, and one of the kids that she nannies also really loves that book. And so Dragons Love Tacos is just, it was an automatic win. The other one that I didn't bring over, I'm gonna go get it. The other one that is a kid's book that I read this week, because it came in the mail, is a one that I've been wanting ever since she published it. It was not originally available in English. She is a Welsh author, and she originally wrote it in Welsh, and so it has been translated. I don't know if she translated it or if someone else did. The translator's not listed, but she did both the illustrations and the story, and that is the Quilt. It's either Valériane or Valériane, maybe? Show it up close there. And it is an immigration story. A Welsh family who live on an island, a farm on that island, but because of the fact that their landlord is raising prices and they are no longer able to support themselves, they decide to take a ship and immigrate to a new land. Before they go, her mama spends a lot of time sewing together little pieces of fabrics that are in a black and red pattern, and the patterns are significant just as the fabrics themselves are significant. And as they are going across the ocean, you can see she gets homesick, and her mama wraps her in the quilt, and she's able to remember things as she traces the patterns of the blocks and the patterns of the stitches on the quilt. Get to a new land. When they get there, her dad builds a cabin and a barn, and they have woods around them, and they plant a garden, and whenever she gets homesick, she wraps up in the quilt. And pretty soon they have sheep, and they have other things, and pretty soon they inhabit a new land, and the land inhabits them. But all along the way, the quilt is what comforts her as a little girl, and what comforts her mama and her papa too. And it's just a very, very lovely, both illustrations, story, everything. The next one that I finished, Alcatraz versus the Knights of Crystalia, I think is how you say it. This is by Brandon Sanderson. It is the last of the Alcatraz books that is out currently. So I'm all caught up on that series. And these were just fun. I don't think that they're his best work. I don't think that it's anything fabulous. He breaks the fourth wall constantly and talks directly to you, the reader. And he's a little bit, he's just arrogant to me is the way that it comes across. You would think this, but that's not really true. And then he's like, but I am a liar. And so I don't know exactly how I feel about these books. Like I said, they're well written. They're not his best work. They are middle grade stories. They're definitely adventurous. They're definitely kind of a almost like Spy Kids kind of feeling, dual worlds. And so if those are buzzwords for you, have at them. Next one that I finished, and I'm going to do these two together. I finished Looking for Anne by Irene Gammel. And then I also finished Ella Montgomery, Extraordinary Canadians by Urquhart. And I enjoyed Looking for Anne a lot. I didn't enjoy Ella Montgomery by Urquhart quite as much. I think at this point, what I would like to do is study more about her reasonings behind the heroines that she wrote in her books, or the characters that she wrote in her books, rather than study about her own life, because I feel like everything that there is known about her, I've now read about. So in Looking for Anne, I learned things like Green Gables was not actually a real place. It was something that she dreamed up in a location, yes, that was real. But the actual house itself, it was kind of modeled after an aunt and uncle's house, but it was actually named after one of our presidential homes, which was called Gray Gables. And Ella Montgomery thought that was such a nice name that she decided on Green Gables for Marilla and Matthew's home. And so I would just like to kind of find out some other things like that, I think. And so I'm looking for books right now that are going to give me a little more insight into her characters and the place and specialness of those places, the uniqueness of those places. The next one that I finished up was Hollowpox. This is by Jessica Townsend. It is the third book in the Morgan Crow series, and I enjoyed it. It was probably my least favorite of the three. The first one is still my favorite. The story of a plague that has broken out in her magical realm that she lives in. I think the reason why I didn't like this one quite as much is because it felt like she was going a little against her own character. So the first two books, she sometimes had to make a choice, but her choice for what she was doing was always really upright. It was always according to who we knew her to be as a character. And in this book, the choice that she had to make actually went against her character. All right. The next one that I completed was How to Be a Good Creature by Cy Montgomery. Cy is a naturalist. She loves animals. So she's written lots of books, but this book came about as a result of, after knowing all about these creatures and doing all this work and living with them and becoming their friend, that she sat down with a human friend one time who said to her, do you think that you have learned as much from the animals about a way to live as you have about the way the animals live? And Cy said, I've learned how to be a good creature. And that's kind of how this book came about. So the book is taking different creatures that she has had in her life, everything from dogs to octopi to pigs, everything, all kinds of creatures. And she basically talks about what these creatures taught her about her own life, about a way to live and see the world. And it is full of just this sweet wonder. And I just really enjoyed it again, and I'm so glad that I own it. The next one that I completed was Sarah Addison Allen's The Girl Who Chased the Moon. And this one I actually started reading because I wanted to read, I think it's Other Small Birds is the name of the book that I was listening to Talia talk about on Bandana Book Mom. And she had talked about this book by Sarah Addison Allen, and the only one that I could find at my library was The Girl Who Chased the Moon. It didn't feel like special really in any kind of a way. It was just a story about a girl moving back to where her mother was from after her mother passes away, and kind of having to deal with who her mom was when she was living in that place versus who she knew her as, and trying to deal with people's attitudes towards her because she looks so much like her mom. It was fine. It was a good story. It just wasn't anything that I'm probably going to remember. Anyway, and then the last one that I finished, I almost DNF'd. And I'm surprised because everything else that I have read by this author I have loved. But I'm not going on in this series. I did finish the book though, and that was Paladins Grace by T. Kingfisher. This felt very much like I was reading a Sarah J. Maas novel mixed with maybe a V.E. Schwab novel. And it was not a bad story, but we just had a lot of, there was just too much of the sexual stuff involved in it. Nothing else that I have read by T. Kingfisher, not any of the other three that I have read, have been like this. Paladins Grace is the one that I finished. It was about a kingdom where there are emperors and kings, and there's imperialists and rebels, and there are church, quote unquote, church people who are maneuvering behind the scenes to get the people into power that they want, and people out of power that they don't want. And the paladins are people that are kind of soldiers that are possessed by gods, the god of steel who dies. I really like a lot of the actual story of the book. It was just all the crap she had to throw in there with it that I didn't appreciate. So those are the books that I completed on. So let me tell you a little bit about February. I'm just going to tell you the things that I have in the works for readathons that I am doing, buddy reads that I'm doing. So I'll tell you about those things because those are the only definites. And a couple of them aren't even definite. So I will be participating in Febregency, and I am going to be reading the group read, Evelina, and then I also purchased The Wild Irish Girl, and that is by Lady Sydney Morgan. Anyway, so those two for sure I will be reading. I have a few others that I'm considering. We've got other prompts like a poem or poetry, a nonfiction by someone in the Regency era or about the Regency era, and different things like that, but I haven't made a decision. I have lots of things that I have put holds on at the library, and that's going to help me decide what I do about those. And then I have buddy reads that I am doing. And last month, or in January, I was supposed to read Tarzan with Dave from Book Blather, and Dave had a very rough January, very rough end of the year and beginning of the year. And I won't go into detail about that. I think he'll probably go into some detail about it on his channel when he gets back up to being able to make videos and stuff. But needless to say, we did not get to read Tarzan in January. So he just contacted me a couple of days ago and said, hey, I'm going to have time in February. Would you like to do it then? And I said, absolutely. So we will be trying to read Tarzan together in February. I'm really looking forward to it. And that is by Edgar Rice Burroughs. That's who that's by. And then also I'm going to, with one of my commenters on my channel, I'm going to start Rhyria Revelations, Theft of Swords. And Amy, who comments often on my channel, said, hey, I was going to start that this year. Would you like to read it together? And I said, I would. I really would. So loved Legends of the First Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. And those books are supposed to be prequels to Revelations and Chronicles, Rhyria Revelations and Chronicles. And so I'm really looking forward to kind of finding out what happened after Legends of the First Empire was over. I've been told that they have really good friendships, and so I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good. My last buddy read that I have scheduled for February is Tigana by Guy Gabriel Kay. And I am going to be reading it with Jack from Spread Book Joy and Gemma from Gemma Books, and Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. We're not going to be starting that until like mid-month, so I will have some time at the beginning of the month to do the Fabrigency and the other buddy reads that I have. And then Tigana, we are planning on taking the last 2 weeks basically of the month. Hey, Editing Dia. I wanted to pop on here because I forgot to mention that I am also going to be reading the book that won the spin, and that is The Dragon's Path by Daniel Abraham, that was submitted by RIS. And as soon as it comes in at the library, it's on hold also, but if it comes in, it's priority for me to read this next month also. So I just wanted to mention that one because I forgot. Okay, back to current Dia. So that is all that I have planned for February so far, and it's going to be a good reading month, I think. I hope that it ends a little better than this one did. I was not a fan of Paladins Grace. What have you guys read this week? Have you been enjoying your 2023 so far? Because other than this past week, I've really been enjoying mine. I think that it's started off so well. And I think tomorrow we are going to go live on Noah's channel. I think that's right. For the end of Flannery O January, we're going to be talking Wise Blood over there. And even though Wise Blood is not my favorite Flannery book by a long shot, I'm really excited to just talk to everybody and hear everybody else's thought. I know that there are several that have appreciated this story and this book, and so I just want to hear why. I want to know more about what it is that draws people to this story. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope that everybody's week has gone really well and that you are reading some great things, and thanks so much for joining me today. I really love having you guys here. I love hearing your comments, reading your comments below. I will see you in the next video. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to. Bye everyone.